Dr. Kim Woo-bin looked at the thick stack of papers on his desk one more time. As Earth's first ambassador to alien civilizations, he wanted everything to be perfect. The application to join the Galactic Confederation had taken months to prepare. Every detail about Earth and humanity was carefully written down. He picked up his pen and signed the final page. Tomorrow, he would send these documents across space to beings he had never met. The thought made him nervous and excited at the same time. "All done," he said to his assistant. "Send it through the quantum transmitter when ready." Far away on the other side of the galaxy, an insect-like creature named Krixtal was having a normal day at work. As the lead scientist for the Galactic Confederation's new member review team, she spent most of her time reading boring reports about safe, peaceful planets where nothing dangerous ever happened. Her 4 eyes were getting tired from reading when a bright red warning flashed on her computer screen. The alarm sound was loud and scary. Krixtal jumped back from her desk, her 6 legs scrambling to keep her balance. "Warning! Class 13 extreme environment detected. Immediate review required," the computer announced in a mechanical voice. Krixtal stared at the screen. In her 20 years of work, she had never seen a Class 13 warning. The highest classification she had ever reviewed was Class 7, and that planet was considered too dangerous for most species to visit. She called her team together. 3 other alien scientists hurried into her office, all looking worried. "What happened?" asked Velmore, a tall being with purple skin and no hair. "We received an application from a species calling themselves humans," Krixtal explained. "But their planet is classified as Class 13. That has to be a mistake." The team gathered around her computer screen. The data from Earth was impossible to believe. The planet had massive storms that could destroy entire cities. The surface was covered with water so deep that most of the seafloor had never been explored. Volcanoes regularly exploded, covering huge areas with deadly hot rock. The atmosphere was full of a gas called oxygen that was poisonous to many species. "Look at this," said Thexara, pointing at the screen with one of her crystal fingers. "Their star sends out deadly radiation every day. How can anything live there?" "And the temperature changes," added Velmore. "It goes from hot enough to kill most life forms to cold enough to freeze water solid. Sometimes in the same day." Krixtal read through more of the report. "They say they have something called weather that includes water falling from the sky and air moving fast enough to knock down trees." The team sat in shocked silence. No known species could survive on such a planet. They must have made an error in their classification system, Krixtal decided. No intelligent life could evolve in those conditions. We should investigate quietly before telling them about their mistake. We don't want to embarrass them. Meanwhile on Earth, Dr. Park So-jin was getting ready for another day of work. She put on her thick diving suit and checked her equipment. Today she would go down to the deepest parts of the ocean to study strange creatures that lived where no sunlight could reach. Water pressure down there was strong, enough to crush a normal human body in seconds. The temperature was just above freezing. No plants could grow in the darkness, so the animals had to eat each other to survive. But for So-jin, this was just another day at the office. "Radio check," she said into her microphone as the submarine started going down. "We hear you clearly," came the voice from the surface ship. "Current depth is 100 meters and going down." So-jin watched through the small window as the water around her got darker and darker. Fish with glowing body parts swam past. Some had teeth bigger than her fingers. Others looked like they were made of clear jelly. At 2,000 meters deep, she reached her destination. The seafloor here was covered with strange tube-shaped creatures that looked like they belonged on another planet. Hot water shot up from cracks in the ground, heated by the molten rock far below. "Perfect," So-jin said happily. "The thermal vents are very active today." She used the submarine's robot arms to collect samples of the unusual life forms. These creatures lived without sunlight and crushing pressure, in water hot enough to cook food. Most aliens would consider this area completely impossible for life. For So-jin, it was fascinating. At the same time, Dr. Lee Tae-ho was working in Yellowstone National Park. He was studying bacteria that lived in hot springs where the water was acidic enough to dissolve metal. The temperature was close to boiling. The chemicals in the water would poison any normal life form, but these tiny creatures loved it. "Amazing," he said to his research partner as he took another sample. "These bacteria are thriving in conditions that would kill almost anything else on Earth." He didn't know that what he was studying would terrify most species in the galaxy. To him, this was normal science. Back in space, Krixtal was making preparations for a secret investigation. She couldn't send a big ship to Earth without the humans noticing, but she could send a small probe that would be hard to detect. "We'll watch them for a few weeks," she told her team. "Once we understand how they really live, we can help them fix their classification error." The probe was the size of a small car and could become invisible to most detection systems. It would take pictures and videos, measure the environment, and send all the information back to the Confederation. "Launch the probe toward the human planet," Krixtal ordered. The small ship shot out into space, heading toward Earth. It would take several days to arrive, but once it got there, the aliens would finally see the truth about humanity. They had no idea what they were about to discover. As Kim Woo-bin finished his work for the day, he looked out his office window at the city below. Cars moved through busy streets. People walked on sidewalks, breathing the oxygen-rich air without thinking about it. In the distance, he could see storm clouds building up, promising rain and lightning later. To him, it was just a normal day on a normal planet. Where normal people lived normal lives, he had no idea that his application was about to cause panic among alien scientists who couldn't believe that anyone could survive on such a dangerous world. The investigation was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. The probe reached Earth's solar system after 3 days of travel. Krixtal and her team gathered around the main screen in their research lab, excited to solve the mystery of the human classification error. "Beginning scan of the planet's surface," announced the probe's computer voice. The first readings appeared on their screens. Krixtal's 4 eyes went wide with shock. "This can't be right," she whispered. The probe was detecting massive electrical storms covering huge areas of the planet. Lightning bolts were hitting the ground thousands of times every hour. Each bolt carried enough energy to power a small city. "Check the radiation levels," ordered Velmore. The numbers that appeared made the whole team step back from the screen. Earth's star was bombarding the planet with deadly radiation every single day. The amount would kill most known species in just a few hours of exposure. "How are they not all dead?" asked Thexara, her crystal body changing color from calm blue to worried orange. But the probe found something even more shocking. Instead of hiding from these deadly conditions, the humans were outside, walking around in the radiation like it was nothing. The probe's cameras showed thousands of people in a place called California Beach, lying on sand under the direct rays of their deadly star. "They're sunbathing," read Velmore from the probe's report. "They do this for fun." Krixtal felt sick. Fun? They considered deadly radiation exposure to be fun. The probe moved to scan different areas of the planet. In a place called Australia, it found humans swimming in water with creatures that could kill them with a single bite. Sharks with rows of sharp teeth swam around the humans, but the people seemed happy and relaxed. "Look at this one," said Thexara, pointing to the screen. A human female named Cho Min-seo was diving deep underwater without any breathing equipment. The probe measured the water pressure around her. It was strong enough to crush the hull of most alien spacecraft, but she was swimming through it like it was nothing. "How deep is she going?" asked Velmore. 40 meters, replied the probe. Water pressure at that depth would kill most species instantly, but Cho Min-seo wasn't just surviving. She was enjoying herself. The probe recorded her swimming with sea creatures that had poisonous stings. One touch from these animals would paralyze most galactic species. But she moved among them without fear. When she finally came back to the surface, she was smiling. "She's happy," Krixtal said in disbelief. "She nearly died and she's happy about it." The probe continued its scan, moving to a mountain range where the air was too thin for most species to breathe. There it found a human male named Yang Dong-hyun, climbing a mountain that was over 8,000 meters tall. The conditions around him were deadly in multiple ways. The air had almost no oxygen. The temperature was far below freezing. The wind was strong enough to blow a person off the mountain. Ice and snow made every step dangerous. Most species would need a full environmental suit and life support system to survive in such a place. Yang Dong-hyun was wearing just a few layers of clothes and carrying a backpack. "He's climbing it for sport," Velmore read from the probe's analysis. "He could die at any moment, and he's doing it because he wants to." "Check his oxygen levels," ordered Krixtal. The probe's medical scanner showed that Yang Dong-hyun's blood had much Less oxygen than would be safe for most species. But somehow he was still moving forward step by step, getting closer to the top of the mountain. His body is working with almost no fuel, Thexara observed. How is he still alive? But Yang Donghyun wasn't just alive. He was determined. The probe watched as he dealt with problems that would stop most expedition teams. When a storm hit the mountain, covering everything in snow and ice, he dug a small cave and waited it out. When his water froze solid, he melted it with a small heating device. Each solution showed that humans had learned to live with problems that would kill other species. The probe moved to scan cities where millions of humans lived together. What it found there was just as shocking as the extreme sports. The cities were built on top of earthquake zones, where the ground could shake violently without warning. Many were next to volcanoes that could explode at any time. One city, called Tokyo, was built in an area where the ground shook almost every day. The probe detected dozens of small earthquakes during just 1 hour of observation. Each earthquake would cause panic and emergency evacuations on most civilized worlds. But the humans in Tokyo just continued with their daily activities. Children played in parks while the ground moved under their feet. Adults went to work in tall buildings that swayed back and forth with each tremor. They've learned to live with constant disasters, Velmore said quietly. The most shocking discovery came when the probe scanned a place called Iceland. There, it found humans who had built their entire civilization on top of active volcanoes. Hot melted rock flowed just under the ground everywhere they walked. The probe watched as humans used the deadly heat from the volcanoes to warm their homes and grow food. They had turned one of the most dangerous forces in nature into a tool for survival. They don't just survive in deadly conditions, Krikstal realized. They use the deadly conditions to make their lives better. Back on her home planet, Krikstal tried to imagine what it would be like to live on Earth. Her species came from a world where the temperature never changed, where storms never happened, where the ground never moved. The idea of living with constant danger was beyond her understanding. Send the probe to scan their children, she ordered. Maybe the young ones are kept safe while the adults face the dangers. The probe found a place called Playground, where human children spent their time. What it recorded made the entire alien team fall silent. Human children were deliberately throwing themselves through the air and catching metal bars with their hands. They were sliding down steep slopes at dangerous speeds. They were climbing on structures tall enough that a fall could seriously hurt them. And they were laughing. They trained their young to live with danger, Thexara whispered. From the very beginning, they learned that their world is trying to kill them. The probe recorded children playing a game called tag, where they ran at full speed and deliberately crashed into each other. Another game called football involved 2 teams of children trying to carry a ball while the other team tried to knock them down. Physical combat is recreation for their young, Velmore observed. They teach their children to fight and call it play. Krikstal was beginning to understand something terrible. This wasn't a classification error. Earth really was a Class 13 death world. And somehow, impossibly, humans had not just survived there. They had built a civilization. What kind of species thrives on a planet that's actively trying to kill them? She asked. None of her team had an answer. In all their studies of galactic civilizations, they had never encountered anything like this. The probe continued sending data, each new report more shocking than the last. Humans lived with dangers that would require emergency evacuation protocols for most species. They had learned to swim in poisonous water, breathe toxic air, and walk on unstable ground. And they did it all while building art, music, literature, and science. We need to expand the investigation, Krikstal decided. This is bigger than we thought. Krikstal ordered the probe to expand its investigation. What her team discovered over the next week made them question everything they knew about life in the universe. The probe found humans who had chosen jobs that involved running directly toward danger. In a city called New York, firefighter Kang Ji-won was responding to an emergency call. A tall building was completely covered in flames, with thick black smoke pouring out of every window. Most species would send in robots to deal with such a situation. Humans sent in Kang Ji-won. The temperature inside that building is over 800 degrees, Velmore read from the probe's sensors. The air is full of toxic smoke. The structure could collapse at any moment. But Kang Ji-won was already running into the building, wearing only a protective suit and carrying an oxygen tank. The probe's cameras followed him as he climbed stairs through the burning structure, searching for people who might be trapped inside. He's going deeper into the danger, Thexara observed, her crystal body now glowing bright red with stress. Every step takes him closer to death, but he keeps going. The probe recorded Kang Ji-won finding a family trapped on the 10th floor. A human female was holding 2 small children, all of them breathing the toxic smoke that would kill most galactic species in minutes. Instead of leaving to save himself, Kang Ji-won gave his own oxygen mask to the mother and carried all 3 of them through the burning building to safety. By the time he reached the outside, his protective suit was melted in several places and he was struggling to breathe. He nearly died saving strangers, Krixtal said in amazement. And look at his face. Kang Ji-won was smiling. Even after almost being killed by the fire, he looked happy that he had been able to help. This is his job, Velmore read from the probe's analysis. He does this every day. The investigation continued. In a mountain region, the probe found Nam Hyejin, a human who specialized in cave rescue. She was being lowered by rope into a deep cave where 2 explorers had fallen and were trapped. The cave was completely dark. The walls were unstable and could collapse without warning. Sharp rocks stuck out everywhere, ready to cut anyone who touched them. The air was thin and hard to breathe. Cave-in probability is 67%, the probe calculated. Survival chances for anyone inside are minimal. But Nam Hyejin was already rappelling down into the darkness, carrying medical supplies and rescue equipment. The probe's sensors showed her moving carefully through spaces so narrow that she had to squeeze her body between rock walls. She's 200 meters underground, Thexara reported. If the cave collapses, there's no way to rescue her. The probe watched as Nam Hyejin found the trapped explorers. One had a broken leg. The other was unconscious from hitting his head on a rock. Both were suffering from cold and lack of oxygen. Instead of calling for robot assistance or waiting for safer conditions, Nam Hyejin immediately began treating their injuries in the dangerous cave. She set the broken bone, woke up the unconscious explorer, and prepared both of them for the difficult journey back to the surface. The rescue took 6 hours. 6 hours of working in conditions that would terrify most galactic species. When Nam Hyejin finally emerged from the cave with both rescued explorers, she was exhausted but satisfied. Another successful rescue, she told her team, as if risking her life in an unstable cave was a normal day at work. But the most shocking discovery was yet to come. The probe detected unusual activity near an active volcano in a place called Hawaii. Dr. Yoon Soo-young, a human scientist, was working directly next to streams of molten rock that had just erupted from deep inside the planet. The temperature of that lava is over 1200 degrees, Velmore announced. It would melt most known metals. Dr. Yoon Soo-young was wearing a protective suit, but the probe's sensors showed that even with protection, the heat around her was deadly. She was using special tools to collect samples of the molten rock, getting close enough to touch it. She's studying it, Krixtal read from the probe's report. She's treating deadly molten rock like a science experiment. The probe recorded Dr. Yoon Soo-young taking measurements, collecting samples and making notes, all while standing next to lava that could kill her instantly if she made one mistake. She worked for hours in the deadly heat, completely focused on her research. Look at her vital signs, Thexara pointed to the screen. Her heart rate is normal. She's not even stressed. For Dr. Yoon Soo-young, working next to an active volcano was just part of her job as a scientist. The probe detected that she had been doing this kind of research for over 10 years. 10 years, Krixtal repeated. She's been working in deadly conditions for 10 years and she's still alive. The aliens' investigation revealed that humans didn't just survive in dangerous conditions, they had developed entire professions based on facing danger. There were humans who studied tornadoes by driving directly into the storms. Others dove to the deepest parts of the ocean where the pressure could crush submarines. Some even went to the coldest places on their planet where the air itself could freeze. Each discovery made the alien team more confused and frightened. They seek out danger, Velmore observed. When they find a safe place, they leave it to find somewhere more dangerous. The probe's next report showed human children again, but this time the aliens paid closer attention to what they were learning. In schools around the world, human children were being taught subjects that would terrify most galactic species. They learned about earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, and other natural disasters, not to fear them, But to understand them, they studied the dangerous animals that lived on their planet. They practiced emergency procedures for surviving in extreme conditions. They're teaching their young how to live with constant threats, Texara realized. One classroom was practicing earthquake drills where children learned what to do if the ground started shaking violently. Another group was learning about fire safety, how to escape from burning buildings. A third class was studying weather emergencies and how to survive storms, floods, and extreme temperatures. Every human child learned survival skills that would be advanced military training for most species, Krikstal noted. But what amazed the aliens most was that the human children seemed to enjoy these lessons. They asked questions about volcanoes with excitement. They wanted to know more about dangerous animals. They competed to see who could remember the most emergency procedures. They're not afraid, Fellmore said quietly. They live on a planet that could kill them at any moment, and they're not afraid. The probe detected something else that shocked the investigation team. Humans didn't just adapt to their dangerous planet. They had learned to predict and prepare for disasters that hadn't happened yet. They built warning systems for earthquakes, storms, and volcanic eruptions. They created emergency supplies and evacuation plans. They practiced rescue procedures for situations that might never occur. They plan for disasters that haven't happened, Texara observed. They assume their planet will try to kill them and they prepare for it. Back at Confederation headquarters, Krikstal was writing her preliminary report. But every time she tried to explain what they had discovered, the words seemed impossible to believe. How could she tell the Galactic Council that there was a species that had evolved on a planet so dangerous that it would require the highest level of hazard warnings? How could she explain that these humans didn't just survive in such conditions, but had built a complex civilization while living under constant threat? Most shocking of all, how could she report that humans seemed to enjoy the challenges their deadly planet provided? We need to inform the Council, Fellmore suggested. And tell them what? Krikstal asked. That we found a species that treats disasters like entertainment? That they voluntarily enter burning buildings and dive into crushing ocean depths? That their children play games that would be considered torture for most species? The investigation was revealing something that challenged every assumption about how intelligent life could develop. The humans weren't just survivors. They were a species that had been forged by constant danger into something the galaxy had never seen before. And Earth's application to join the Confederation was still pending approval. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation Council was called to order by Morthal, the aquatic delegate from the peaceful water world of Aquaros. His blue skin had turned pale green with worry as he reviewed the investigation report one more time. Fellow council members, Morthal announced, we face an unprecedented situation. The investigation team has confirmed that the humans' planetary classification is accurate. Earth is indeed a Class 13 death world. Shocked gasps filled the council chamber. Representatives from 47 different species sat in stunned silence. In the 3,000-year history of the Galactic Confederation, no intelligent species had ever been discovered on anything more dangerous than a Class 8 world. Krikstal stood to present her findings. Her insect-like body was trembling as she activated the holographic display. The probe's data is undeniable, she began. Earth experiences regular natural disasters that would devastate most civilized worlds. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, massive storms, and deadly radiation from their star are constant threats. The hologram showed images from the probe, lightning storms that could power entire cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes spewing molten rock across vast areas. But the most disturbing discovery, Krikstal continued, is that humans don't just survive these conditions, they thrive in them. She showed the recorded footage of Kang Ji-won running into the burning building, Nam Hyejin descending into the unstable cave, and Dr. Yoon Soo-young collecting samples from active lava flows. The council member from Zareth, a peaceful desert world, fainted and had to be carried out of the chamber. This is impossible, declared the representative from the crystalline world of Luxara. No species could evolve intelligence while constantly fighting for survival against such extreme conditions. Morthal called for order as worried conversations broke out across the chamber. Please let the investigation team continue their presentation. Texara stepped forward, her crystal body now glowing bright orange with anxiety. Our analysis of their historical records reveals something even more shocking. Earth has experienced 5 major extinction events. Each time, life on the planet was nearly destroyed completely. The hologram showed the probe's analysis of Earth's geological history. Massive asteroid impacts, volcanic supereruptions, ice ages that covered most of the planet, and atmospheric changes that would have killed all life on most worlds. Yet each time, Thexara continued, life recovered and became stronger. The humans evolved from survivors of multiple global catastrophes. A delegate from the peaceful forest world of Verdania raised one of her leaf-like hands. Surely this explains why they seem so adapted to danger. But what does this mean for the Confederation? Velmore activated the next part of their presentation. The humans have submitted additional documents about their future plans. They want to explore and colonize other worlds. The hologram showed humanity's space exploration goals. The images made several council members leave their seats in panic. They want to establish colonies on Class 10 and Class 11 worlds, Velmore announced. Planets that we consider too dangerous for robotic exploration, they see as potential homes. Dr. Han Jaemin's research data appeared on the hologram. His geological surveys showed that humans were actively seeking out the most challenging environments in their own solar system. They had plans to build permanent bases on planets with poisonous atmospheres, extreme temperatures, and deadly radiation. Look at this mission proposal. Velmore pointed to the display. They want to establish a research station inside the atmosphere of a gas giant where the pressure would crush our strongest ships. Captain Bae Yun-seo's mission reports showed even more ambitious plans. Humans were designing spacecraft that could land on planets where the surface was covered with acid rain, and the air was toxic to most known life forms. They're not looking for safe, habitable worlds, Crichton explained. They're specifically seeking out the most dangerous planets they can find. The council chamber erupted in worried voices as representatives tried to understand what this meant. Why? Would they choose dangerous worlds when safe ones are available? Asked the delegate from Harmonia, a world where nothing dangerous had ever evolved. Morthel reviewed the cultural analysis in the report. According to our investigation, humans find safe environments boring. The word boring had to be translated into 47 different languages. Many species didn't have a concept for being unsatisfied with safety. They actively seek challenges, Morthel continued. Their greatest heroes are individuals who faced the most dangerous situations and survived. They celebrate risk-taking and exploration into unknown dangers. The hologram showed human entertainment, movies about surviving disasters, books about exploring dangerous places, games where players deliberately put themselves in life-threatening situations for fun. They create fictional dangers for entertainment when real dangers aren't available, Thexara explained. A representative from the gas-dwelling species of Atmospherica floated forward. This suggests they might be a threat to peaceful species. Should we be concerned about human aggression? Crichton had anticipated this question. Our analysis indicates the opposite. Humans direct their need for challenge toward their environment and toward helping other humans survive. They rarely fight each other compared to how much they fight their planet. The probe data showed human rescue organizations, disaster relief efforts, and international cooperation during emergencies. When faced with natural disasters, humans work together regardless of their political differences. They compete with their world, not with each other, Velmore observed. But the most shocking revelation was still to come. Dr. Imbora's research data appeared on the hologram, showing humanity's plans for dealing with cosmic threats. They're preparing for dangers that don't even exist yet, Crichton announced. Asteroid impacts, solar flares, gamma-ray bursts from distant stars. They're developing technology to survive threats that might not happen for thousands of years. The humans had detailed plans for deflecting planet-killing asteroids, surviving if their star became unstable, and even escaping their solar system if necessary. They were preparing for extinction-level events that most species had never even considered. They assume the universe is trying to kill them, Morthul summarized, and they prepare accordingly. A long silence fell over the council chamber as the representatives tried to process this information. Finally, the eldest member of the council, an ancient tree-like being from the forest world of Sylvana, spoke in a slow, creaking voice. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, we have encountered many species. Some are peaceful, Some are aggressive, some are highly intelligent, others are more primitive. But we have never encountered a species that was forged by constant danger. The ancient being's branches rustled as he continued. We have built our civilization by avoiding conflict, finding safe worlds, eliminating dangers. These humans have built their civilization by facing danger directly and learning from it. What does that make them? Asked the representative from Technica, a world where all dangerous life had been eliminated through technology. The ancient tree being considered this carefully. It makes them something we have never seen before. A species that treats extinction-level threats as normal problems to be solved. Morthul looked around the chamber at the worried faces of his fellow council members. The question before us is simple. Do we accept a species that considers our worst nightmares to be daily life? But before anyone could answer, an emergency alarm began sounding throughout the council chamber. The duty officer rushed in with an urgent message. Council leader Morthul, the officer announced breathlessly, we're receiving a distress signal from the outer rim. An unknown cosmic phenomenon is threatening the Kepler system. All 6 inhabited worlds are in immediate danger. The council chamber fell silent. The Kepler system was home to over 12 billion beings from multiple species. If they were all in danger, it would be the worst disaster in Confederation history. What kind of phenomenon? Morthul asked. We don't know, the officer replied. Nothing like it has ever been recorded. Our scientists estimate that all 6 worlds will be uninhabitable within days. Morthul looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. 47 species with all their combined knowledge and technology, and they had no idea how to handle an unknown cosmic threat. Then he looked back at the hologram that was still showing human data. A species that prepared for disasters they had never seen, that treated extinction-level events as problems to be solved, that had survived 5 major catastrophes and become stronger each time. For the first time since the emergency session began, Morthul smiled. The Confederation's first contact ship arrived at Earth 3 days after the emergency session. Morthul had decided that if they were going to ask humans for help with an impossible cosmic disaster, they should at least introduce themselves properly first. The diplomatic ship carried representatives from 12 different species, each one nervous about meeting beings who lived on a Class 13 Deathworld. They had expected to conduct meetings in a safe, controlled environment on their ship. Instead, they received an invitation from Ambassador Kim Woobin. Welcome to our solar system, Kim's message said cheerfully. We're excited to meet you. We have several excellent meeting locations prepared. Would you prefer our Antarctic research station, our deep-sea facility, or perhaps our orbital platform? We could also meet during our annual Desert Survival conference next week. Every location Kim suggested made the alien sensors flash red with danger warnings. The Antarctic research station was built on a continent covered with ice, where temperatures dropped far below the freezing point of most known liquids. The deep-sea facility was located at crushing depths where the water pressure would destroy most spacecraft. The orbital platform was positioned directly in the path of deadly solar radiation. He thinks these are normal meeting places. Belmore whispered to his fellow delegates. Maybe we should meet on our ship, suggested the representative from Peacefulia, a world where dangerous weather had been eliminated centuries ago. But before they could respond to Kim's message, their ship was caught in what the humans called a solar storm. Deadly radiation poured through space from Earth's star, carrying enough energy to fry most electronic systems. Emergency, announced the ship's computer. Radiation levels at 300% of safe limits. All crew to evacuation pods immediately. Alarms rang throughout the ship as systems began shutting down to protect themselves. The aliens rushed toward their escape pods, preparing to abandon ship and flee to a safe distance from the radiation storm. But their escape was interrupted by an incoming communication from Earth. Confederation ship. This is Earth Space Control, came a calm human voice. We're detecting system failures on your vessel. Do you require assistance? Morthul stared at the communication panel in disbelief. The humans were offering to help during a radiation storm that would kill most galactic species in minutes. This is Council Leader Morthul, he replied. Our ship is failing due to solar radiation. We need immediate evacuation. Roger that, came the response. Rescue ships are launching now. We'll have you out of there in 20 minutes. Through the ship's windows, the aliens watched in amazement as human spacecraft flew directly into the deadly radiation storm. The rescue ships had special shielding. but their sensors showed that the human crews were still being exposed to dangerous levels of radiation. Commander Oh Sejong led the rescue operation from the lead ship. His crew included Dr. Im Bo-ra, a radiation specialist who had spent years studying how to work safely in extreme radiation environments. Establishing docking connection with the alien vessel, Oh Sejong reported calmly. Radiation levels are high but manageable. Manageable? Morthul asked his science officer quietly. The radiation levels would cook most of our crew in 15 minutes, came the reply. These humans are treating it like a minor workplace hazard. The rescue operation proceeded smoothly, despite conditions that would have been impossible for most galactic species to survive. The human crews worked efficiently in the deadly radiation, evacuating all 43 alien delegates and bringing them safely to Earth's orbital station. As the rescue ships docked with the orbital platform, the aliens were amazed to discover that the station was fully operational during the radiation storm. Human workers moved through the corridors normally, protected only by standard radiation suits. The storm should last another 6 hours, Dr. Im Bo-ra explained to the shocked alien delegates. You're welcome to stay here until it passes, or we can transport you down to Earth if you prefer. Is it safe on Earth during this storm? Asked Thexara, her crystal body flickering with concern. Oh yes, Im Bo-ra replied. The atmosphere provides good protection. We get solar storms like this several times a year. Most people don't even notice them. The aliens looked at each other in amazement. A radiation storm that would force the evacuation of entire star systems was just routine weather to the humans. Kim Woo-bin arrived at the orbital station a few hours later, full of apologies for the inconvenience. Sorry about the storm, he said to Morthul. Bad timing for first contact. Though I have to say your rescue went much smoother than our last one. We had a cruise ship full of tourists caught in a solar storm last month, and it took 12 hours to get everyone to safety. Tourists? Morthul asked weakly. Space tourism, Kim explained. People pay to visit the outer system during storm season. They like to see the aurora effects up close. The alien delegates stood in stunned silence. Humans treated deadly radiation storms as tourist attractions. As the solar storm finally ended, Kim led the delegates to a conference room with large windows showing Earth below. The planet looked beautiful and peaceful from space, with swirling white clouds and blue oceans. It's lovely, said the representative from Gardenia, a world of gentle meadows and calm weather. Thank you, Kim replied. Though you're seeing it on a calm day, you should see it during hurricane season, or when the volcanoes are really active. Much more spectacular. Morthul decided it was time to get to the point. Ambassador Kim, we need to discuss something urgent. There's a cosmic disaster threatening the Kepler system. 12 billion lives are at risk. Kim's expression immediately became serious. Tell me about it. Morthul explained the situation. An unknown phenomenon was affecting all 6 worlds in the Kepler system. The planets were experiencing massive environmental changes that would make them uninhabitable within days. The Confederation's best scientists had no idea what was causing it or how to stop it. Kim listened carefully, asking technical questions about the environmental changes, the affected planets, and the time frame involved. How long do we have? Kim asked. Perhaps 4 days before the first planet becomes completely uninhabitable, Morthul replied. Kim nodded thoughtfully. We'll need to send a research team immediately. Dr. Park So-jin specializes in extreme environmental adaptation. Dr. Lee Tae-ho knows more about surviving in impossible conditions than anyone alive. And Dr. Yoon Soo-young has experience with planetary-scale geological events. You're willing to help? Thexara asked in surprise. Of course, Kim replied as if the question was silly. 12 billion people need help. That's what matters. Within 6 hours, a human research ship was ready to depart for the Kepler system. The ship was designed to operate in conditions that would destroy most Confederation vessels. Its crew was trained to work in environments that would kill other species. But most importantly, the humans approached the cosmic disaster not with fear, but with curiosity and determination. We've never seen anything like this before, Dr. Park So-jin told the alien delegates before departure. It sounds fascinating. The word fascinating had to be translated carefully. Most species would call an extinction-level cosmic phenomenon terrifying or impossible. Humans called it fascinating. As the human research ship departed for the Kepler system, Morthul called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Fellow council members, he announced, I move that we immediately grant full membership in the Galactic Confederation to the human species of Earth, but they live on a Class 13, Deathworld, protested the delegate from Safetopia. Exactly, Morthal replied. For 3,000 years, we have built our civilization by avoiding danger, eliminating threats, and seeking safety. We have become very good at living comfortable lives on peaceful worlds. He paused to look around the council chamber. But what happens when we face a danger we can't avoid? What happens when we encounter a threat we don't understand? What happens when safety is no longer possible? The chamber was silent as the representatives considered his words. The humans have spent their entire evolutionary history learning to survive the impossible, Morthal continued. They have turned disaster into opportunity, danger into challenge, and extinction-level threats into problems to be solved. He activated the holographic display, showing the human research ship heading toward the Kepler system disaster. When 12 billion lives were threatened by an unknown cosmic phenomenon, we panicked. The humans said, "That sounds fascinating," and launched a rescue mission. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in Galactic Confederation history, a species from a Class 13 Deathworld was granted full membership. 3 weeks later, Dr. Park Sojin sent a message from the Kepler system. Problem solved, her report began. The cosmic phenomenon was caused by interaction between solar radiation and unusual mineral deposits in the planet's cores. We've developed a shielding technique that neutralizes the effect. All 6 worlds are safe. She attached detailed technical specifications that would allow other species to deal with similar threats in the future. At the bottom of her report, she added a personal note. Council Leader Morthul, thank you for the warm welcome to the Confederation. By the way, we've discovered several Class 14 worlds in unexplored regions of the galaxy.